For the Republic by Wanderer 101, Chapter 6. For the Republic, a true compromise is when both parties leave the table pissed off. The Wanderer. Emperor Caesar, the immortal of the Holy Empire of Rome, tightened his grip on his seat as the ship left the safety of the hangar. The shuttle shook fiercely as it left the hangar once again, reminding him this wasn't a Roman vessel. The shuttle was a converted Republic LAAT gunship. He really couldn't say converted. Seats were just added and weapons removed, plus it was painted in the UN light sky blue instead of the Republic's dark blue. Roman shuttles were a much smoother ride, allowing him to forget he was flying. Tightening his seatbelt, Caesar tried to hide his nervousness from his associates, but to no success. "Don't tell me you're still afraid of flying, Caesar," said the Wanderer with that wide grin of his that Caesar started hating centuries ago. "If God had wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings. I'll never understand how you find such an experience enjoyable. Don't you admire the freedom of it all, the ability to go anywhere you want, with no boundaries? No. The chance of plummeting towards the ground sours the experience for me. It's not like you'll die from it," said head consul Dido of the Carthaginian Republic. "Besides, we're in space, not in atmosphere. My dear Dido, that is what makes it more terrifying. The knowledge of that instead of being rewarded with broken bones, I'll have to endure floating through the void hoping I am rescued," responded Caesar. "Besides, whether it is in the sky or among the stars, we aren't on the ground. Caesar, you need to get some excitement in your life and stop hanging around your palace all day. Do you have someone hold your hand on a roller coaster?" said the Wanderer. "Oh, stop it, you two. I refuse to spend the rest of this flight hearing you both prattle on like children," said Premier Catherine of the USSR, who had long given up the elegant dresses she wore in favor of more utilitarian clothing. "Not to mention that you don't have much to talk about, Wanderer. Over 6,000 years old, and you still haven't learned how to swim. Swimming doesn't come naturally to some people. It's hard," said the Wanderer. "Friends, as illuminating as this conversation is, I believe we should focus on the matter at hand, which is the imminent negotiations," said President Bismarck of Germany. "He's right. Does anyone have a plan of action?" said Dido. "The reports I forward to you from Joel say this is a multi-species alliance we are dealing with," said the Wanderer. "It's similar to our United Nations, with each species providing something in exchange for power and influence. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the species you fought on Vietnam were the soldiers of this alliance," said Caesar. "You are correct. The other species do contribute military, but are inconsequential when compared to the Turians. If we are lucky, we might just end up fighting them. And if we are unlucky," said Catherine, "we'll have the entire galaxy to try to get a piece of us. Though Goyle tells me that won't happen," said the Wanderer with a smirk. "Our species has made some big waves. The energy weaponry and power armor my troops demonstrated on Vietnam were things they didn't think were possible. That and the entrance we made were enough to show the entire galaxy we mean business." The entrance the Wanderer was referring to was a UN fleet coming out of hyperspace. Goyle informed him that this council expected them to use the gate and were quite surprised to learn humanity had an alternate form of space travel. This would give them plenty of leverage in coming negotiations, or a huge advantage if it came to war. 30 seconds until we land," said the pilot. "All right, everyone. Nothing too fancy. We negotiate peace and possibly trade agreements that are heavily in our favor and get out. Are we all in agreement?" said Caesar. After everyone gave their confirmation, Caesar said, "Good, I'll take point." The door of the shuttle slid open, revealing a waiting crowd of aliens. Some were reporters and others appeared to be law enforcement keeping order, but the vast majority appeared to be normal civilians. Whether made up of humans or aliens, a crowd was still a crowd. and humanity's leaders had a lot of experience in wooing a crowd. They were dignified but friendly, and at the same time showing a bit of their true personalities. The Wanderer was given his trademark grin, while Bismarck gave off the friendly grandfather vibe he possessed. Behind them, the shuttle took off and returned back to the ship. The quad guards were nothing but professionals, taking up defensive positions around them to ward off any potential attackers. That was to be expected since they were from the UN Special Operation Group. The UNSOG was comprised of the best soldiers from every nation and city-state: United Republic Rangers, Roman Praetorians, Russian Spetsnaz, Hungarian Viet Cong, and Carthaginian Sacred Band, just to name a few, or at least the best soldiers that weren't taken by XCOM. Caesar could count on a hand the best of his Praetorians of that weren't picked up by XCOM this month. The number was expected to increase tenfold. Now alien life had been discovered and is potentially hostile. Two alien law enforcement officers led them to an elevator tomb and, forgive him for sounding too cliche, take them to their leaders. The elevator was taking an awful long time, allowing him to get a closer, discreet look at these aliens. The armor they were both wearing seemed too heavy for a normal patrol cop. It was more in line with the Republic's SWAT or Germany's CSG-9. The alien to his right was one of the Turians, a species of avian ancestry, and from what the report said, a species known for its military skill. The alien on his left was an Asari, an all-female species that could easily pass for human if it wasn't for the blue skin or tentacle appendages on their heads. That huge cross-shaped ship out there belonged to them and was the most advanced ship in the galaxy besides theirs, of course. They also had an Asari guide. She was a bit of a bore, pointing out interesting locales and explaining them in a way that struck Caesar as condescending. He understood she had to phrase it in a way as not to be misunderstood, but every time she went on about said achievement, she did like she was speaking to a not-so-bright child. They entered the so-called council chambers, and Caesar admitted he was impressed, but only a little. The room was nicely decorated, but to the point where it was tacky. The counselors were atop a podium, placing them far above whoever they were speaking to, a not-so-subtle way of saying, "We are better than you." They reminded Caesar too much of that bastard Hitler, who used every opportunity to show he was better than everyone else. The Wanderer might think otherwise, but his alliance to the blustering fool was one of convenience. He hated every minute of it, but he needed someone to stand with him against the Republic, and Hitler unfortunately fit the bill. He was still kicking himself over that miscalculation. It ended up getting a city turned into a radioactive ruin, which his people had to rebuild since land is hard to come by on Earth. All around the room were balconies that were slowly filled up with reporters, ambassadors, and other important figures. The group approached the council. "Time to get this show on the road." And Caesar stepped forward, since everyone grudgingly agreed he was the most charismatic, and his position as head of the UN Security Council gave him a lot of authority and such matters. "Esteemed members of the Citadel Council, I am Julius Caesar, Emperor of the Holy Empire of Rome and United Nations Security President," he said, bowing his head respectfully. "I'll be conducting negotiations on behalf of my colleagues." "Forgive us, Emperor," the Sorry Counselor Tables, if you remembered her name correctly, said, "but we were expecting to be conducting negotiations with the Wanderer of the United Republic for the incident on their colony." "It seems there is a misunderstanding here, counselors. The planet the Turians attacked belongs to the Republic of Hanoi, which the United Republic protects. Due to treaties created over a century ago, the attack on Hanoi by an alien power is an attack on all human nations." Caesar internally smirked when he saw the other two counselors quickly glare at their Turian counterpart. Not only did they risk war with the Republic, but the rest of humanity as well. The counselors quickly debated among themselves before saying, "We would like to end all hostilities and offer you an embassy." Caesar frowned. "An embassy? For who exactly?" he asked. "There is only one embassy per species, so you will have to share one," replied Tavos. Caesar turned around to face his colleagues to see if they thought the same as him. The frowning faces told him yes, they did. "I'm sorry, counselors, but we have to refuse your generous offers." "Citadel embassy is a great honor," said the Tyrian counselor, who was struggling to keep his voice in check. "Most species petition for centuries to receive one. You shouldn't throw this opportunity away lightly." "Once again, counselor, I must say that we have to refuse," said Caesar. "We may seem united, but the truth is that we all hate each other," interrupted the wanderer. "He always does that," mumbled Caesar, speaking louder so everyone could hear. "Despite how brutishly it was put, my colleague is correct. Over 6,000 years of political, cultural, economical, religious, and personal anonymity, our nations find it hard to work together." That wasn't a lie. Caesar didn't want to share anything with the Republic because they just ended up owning that the International Space Station that was built 100 years back was constructed mostly by the United Republic. The mission control was based in the Republic. Most astronauts that used it were from the Republic. It was international in name only. He was glad, despite being based in and equipped by the Republic, XCOM was a true international organization. The first XCOM commander was Roman. When XCOM moved its main HQ from Republic City to the moon, only then could he breathe easy. "We are saddened that you will not join the galactic community," said Tavos. "Counselors," said the Wanderer, stepping forward to Caesar's annoyance. "Despite us not joining the Citadel, it does not mean we can't have a good relationship. I propose we meet again in a few days' time and hammer out trade agreements and a possible military alliance." After a moment of deliberations, the sorry counselor said, "We accept your proposal." A couple of days later, the human leaders found themselves in one of the counselor's private conference rooms. The wanderer would be the one doing most of the talking this time, since, in the words of Caesar, he was incapable of keeping his big mouth shut. That was a lie. He could, the cold and calculating when he wanted to. It's just that Caesar seemed much too happy, so it was his duty to bring him down. That would give people the idea that him and Caesar hated each other, but it was more of a friendly rivalry by this point. Caesar would get him back by sending him hate gifts. Just last Christmas, Caesar sent him a large portrait of himself that read, "To my biggest fan," and like the 5,000th annual fruitcake. He just can't throw them away, since that's a waste of food, and giving it to someone is the same as saying, "I hate you." They just take up space in a closet. The wanderer looked around at the bored expressions of his fellow leaders, and there he saved friends. They were just as bored as he was. The council had them waiting here for a good 10 minutes now. When they finally arrived, the counselor Trevor greeted them all. Before they started negotiation, they all thought it would be prudent to properly introduce themselves and better learn about each other's species and history. The human leaders were surprised to learn that the Citadel were not in fact built by them, but by the Protheans. The Prothenians left many technological wonders scattered around the galaxy, explained Tevlos. "Every time a new piece of technology is discovered, our technological advancement shoots ahead by centuries. It is galactic law to share any found piece of Prothenian technology with the galaxy, so all may benefit. Despite not joining the Citadel, we hope you will share any Prothenian technology with us. We wish we could help you there, but we haven't found any working Prothenian technology in our space. It was all destroyed, most likely by the Prothenians themselves. That relay over Vietnam was the first working one we'd ever seen," said the Wanderer. So you have encountered no Prothean technology, said the Solarian Counselor Renal. We assumed the advanced pieces of technology were Prothean derived. Nope, that was all us. Republic scientists and engineers are possibly the best in the galaxy, the Wanderer said proudly. It seemed like yesterday when electricity was invented, and he never ceases to remind us, said Catherine, slyly smiling at the Wanderer's unamused look. After promising to report any Prothean technology, talks then moved to trade agreements. The Council wanted access to hyperdrive energy weaponry and power armor. The human leaders were a bit apprehensive at trading such powerful technology to a civilization they just met, and Bismarck mentioned that the Republic doesn't even trust them with the secrets to power armor. Medical technology and some civilian gear was to be freely traded, however. Republic Stimpaks and Roman Medigel were going to be popular in Citadel space. Things almost went sour when talks drifted to fleet sizes and borders. Turian Counselor Spartus was in complete denial that each human civilization had a fleet able to match the Turian navy on their own and possess dozens of colonies. The navy on their own, the human leaders refused to sign the Treaty of Vergsen and Sada conventions, not wanting to limit their militaries in such a way. They did agree to issue public statements promising not to open mass relays. When Renal mentioned the ban on artificial intelligence, it was then things got complicated. You gave them equal status to organics, yelled Spartus. Are you out of your mind? Hey, it works. I can't speak for my fellow heads of state, but I can say the Republic's synthetic citizens have done nothing to warrant any suspicion, and since their creation seek to better emulate humans who they consider their parents. I personally mentor the first AI ever created. I always wondered about that, interrupted Ditto. Please tell me that isn't some daughter I would never have kind of thing. Ignoring Ditto, the Wanderer continued. Gladys is all the things people should aspire to be: kind, intelligent, and loving. She may not be human by birth, but she is in spirit. I consider her to be the child I always wanted. Allah help him, face-palmed Data, and see bright things in her future, the Wanderer finished. The AI debate continued on for half an hour longer. The council wanted to continue pressing the issue, but seeing the humans weren't going to budge, conceded. AIs weren't allowed in Citadel space unless they stay on military vessels or are approved to set foot on council worlds and stations. Things did not look up when the Wanderer offered to help Turians conduct patrols, to which Spartus gave one of his rare smiles. Negotiations were starting to come to a close, but before they could leave, there was one last thing that needed to be answered. How old are you? Asked Renal suddenly. Medical technology has increased the human lifespan to 100 years on average, said Caesar. No, I mean you specifically. Emperor Caesar mentioned that 6,000 years of personal animosity made it hard for your people to work together. The Wanderer said it seemed like yesterday electricity was invented, and that he meant towards the first AI, which I'm guessing isn't a recent invention. So I asked again, how old are you? The human leaders all looked at each other, and with a grin and a nod, they silently agreed. You figured it out a lot quicker than we expected, said Bismarck approvingly. We thought you would learn when our people began to freely share information. I myself am only 221 years old, though my friends are over 6,000. We are immortal. That's not possible, said a shocked Tevos. This has to be a lie, said a disbelieving Spartus. It is hard to believe. Is it so hard to believe? Said Bismarck. Your own people live the age of 1,000, even though despite medical advancements, other species can only dream to reach a quarter of that. But how have you managed to live so long? Asked Renard. Honestly, we don't know. We have a theory, but it's just that. A theory, one born of wishful thinking. Up here in a nation ruined by war, my predecessor wasn't the best leader. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew what I had to do. I had to lead because no one else could, not the way I can. My friends have told me over the years the same story, appearing in the world with no memories of past lives, but with an intense desire to lead and the ability to do so very well. There has to be more to it than that, said Bernard. There has to be, said Bismarck. If you find out, let us know, because we'd really like some answers. Civilopedia, Low Altitude Assault Transport, LAAT. The LAAT, often referred to as the Republic's attack gunship, or Republic gunship, was a specialized gunship designed for aerial base support and infantry transportation, affectionately referred to as the Larty by soldiers. The LAAT was a beloved asset in any military since it is designed to fill any role from troop transport, aerial support, and even vehicle deployment. Every Republic ship larger than a corvette is designed to carry at least two. The Turian military ordered 20 in military recent ordered 20 LATs of various types to see if it was a suitable replacements for their aging gunships until they could design one themselves. Reports say that the response from Turian commanders is very positive and that the Republic can see a massive order of LATs in the near future. The world leaders The world leaders is a term used to refer to the immortal heads of state of the United Republic, Carthage, Rome, Germany, and Russia. The leaders are immortal in every sense of the word. They are unable to age, be killed, or die from illness. There are downsides to this apparent blessing, however. The leaders still can get sick and feel pain. In 47 CE, during a smallpox outbreak, Caesar caught the disease and was in pain for over 3 months before his immune system finally pushed it out of his system. In 3857 BC, while fighting barbarians, the wanderer takes a battle axe to his lower back. It leaves him unable to walk and in excruciating pain for a while. His healers could do nothing but give him herbs and watch in amazement as his nerves slowly reconnected. Another downside is that the leaders are completely sterile, therefore unable to reproduce, which, coupled with the fact that they'll outlive everyone they love, and care about, makes them wary of forming attachments. End of chapter 6.